Hello and welcome. Welcome once again. This is Jerome Shaw, host of the Open Palm Podcast, motivator, meditator, coming at you with another message from this book right here that changed my whole perspective. The narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. Amazing book, that a man who was born into slavery in the 19th century had such a vocabulary, teaching himself how to read and write, that it would make you get a dictionary to understand what this gentleman is saying in here. So another passage from this book, as we're taking a look, that really brought the message of the pranic message for me, was this passage here, where he talks about how I had a number of warm-hearted friends in Baltimore, friends that I loved almost as I did my life, and the thought of being separated from them forever was painful beyond expression. It is my opinion that thousands would escape slavery who now remain, but for the strong cords of affection that bind them to their friends. The thought of leaving my friends was decidedly the most painful thought with which I had to contend. So this brought to my mind and enabled me to find a sign where a lot of people are less inclined to redefine their mind when it comes to the trying of leaving, right? The ways that they had once been perceiving. Because the friends and family and loved ones around them are not believing this new way of life. They find themselves stressed and in the midst of great strife because those around them are not convinced. And if you told them, oh, I'm fasting, they might even wince, right? Like, that's not really ideal. Oh, you're fasting? What? Chronic living, is that real? Right? Is that even real? How do you feel? What is the deal? So when you get around that kind of energy field and you try to break away, for some people it's all right, but for others it's not okay. For me, I feel like I had a sort of advantage because I'm an only child. So I came up with myself. So a lot of the things I did, I couldn't really do for anyone else. But it was for my own mental health, my own well-being, to change the ways that I had been seeing. But moving on, I had people around me who said, this is wrong. But since I was accustomed to being alone, I was able to go on without being lonely. Whereas for someone else, it might be like, what about the homies, right? What about the people who already know me? A lot of people will continue because they don't want to be lonely. They don't want to be the only one who's doing this, or the only one to persist. And so they often go back to their circles because it tends to be hard to resist. The people who have known us from the beginning might not want to see us winning in that aspect of our lives, even if by fasting you feel that you thrive, even a pranic way that makes you feel more alive. It's hard for one bee to move away from the hive, right? So I feel Frederick Douglass when he says that it is of his opinion that thousands would escape from slavery who now remain, but for the strong cords of affection that bind them to their friends. That had people not had these strong cords of affection, they would much more strongly move in the direction, maybe even find a rebirth, or you might say a resurrection, but not for that bond and that deep, strong connection. For their friend might be saying or judging with many projections, right? It's hard to break away from the pact, or even hard to break away from the pack. Imagine that. But when things don't add up, we might start to subtract. For if we don't go and we don't grow, what do we attract? As a matter of fact, right? How do we counteract ourselves from our own well-being and health? How do we put the book of our body right back on the shelf and say, you know what? That's okay. I'll just be like everyone else around me today. Or would you say, like Frederick Douglass, come what may, I'm gone, right? I'm elevating my mind out of the state of deprivation. Even if I have to break away from my bonds and my relations, it is still worth it to save myself the long frustration, to elevate my body out of all these complications. What will be the cost and what will be the price for you to say, I deserve much more in my life? For you to go out and see what you could explore if you recognize within what you're truly living for.